Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to the class of Sirah. We've reached the opening of Mecca, and we discussed briefly the incidents of the opening of Mecca. And now, inshallah, we will continue with some lessons and details also about this important incident, which is the opening of Mecca. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considered it the grand opening, the great opening. Al-Fath al-Azim, Al-Fath al-Akbar. The Prophet ﷺ, when he entered Mecca, the next day, in the house of Hani. Who was Hani? His cousin, the sister of Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anhu. Hani, again, it was the same house where the Prophet ﷺ ascended to heaven. He prayed 8 rak'ah. Some scholars said that this 8 rak'ah is the prayer of victory. He did salam after 2 rak'ah. Other scholars said no, this is Salatul Duha. Because in the other battles, the Prophet ﷺ did not pray. But it is arguable that he did not come to a place. They were fighting in the battlefield, not in a place or in a city. Anyway, this prayer that he prayed, is it prayer of victory or is it prayer of duha? If you say prayer of victory, then you say it is recommended always when Muslims open a city to pray 8 rak'ah. The leader at least. If it's not prayer of victory, then you say it is permissible to pray Salat al-Duha up to 8 rak'ah. Now the Prophet ﷺ destroyed the idols. Around the Kaaba there were idols. How many? How many idols and statues? 360. 360 idols. Now remember, those idols, for how long they were there? Long time. But let's forget about before prophethood. After prophethood, for how long it was there? Those idols. Approximately 20 years. 13 years in Mecca and 8 years. So more than 20 years. Why the Prophet ﷺ did not destroy them? Isn't destroying the idols ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is it or isn't it? It is ibadah. Why didn't he do it? He did not have the power. Remember, was he able to do it or not? Come on, he was in the Kaaba. He could sneak in the night and destroy it. Yes?
It's not using the hikmah.
It is not hikmah. What's the hikmah?
Because now you've conquered that area, you could easily
This is very important lesson. I really want you to focus on it. Now, the Prophet ﷺ did not send missions to destroy the idols. He could have sent 2 of the companions in the night to destroy the idols. But again, what's the purpose? Do not be very narrow-minded in da'wah. The Prophet ﷺ did not make his biggest concern to go to destroy the idols. Da'wah does not stop. If they were able to defeat you in one field, you move to another field. Da'wah will never stop. Do not be so consumed with one thing only. The Prophet ﷺ did not say, I will not do anything, I will only prepare myself only to go to that place until the Kaaba is purified, the house of Allah. What is worse than you have the house of Allah surrounded with idols? Yet the Prophet ﷺ did not do that. This is a lesson for all of us. Once it is time, then you can do it. Go ahead and do it. Just like nowadays when people think about minimal issues and they make their biggest concern is that issue. We cannot do anything. Don't build hospitals, don't build schools, don't do anything until this issue is solved. You cannot do that. Yes, it is important. It is essential. And we are responsible. We have to do something. But that does not mean we don't work on other things as well. This is a very important lesson. Another thing we can learn also, when the Prophet ﷺ came, he came in Ramadan. When was Mecca opened? In Ramadan, in the 8th year of Hijrah. He was not fasting. And the issue of fasting, we discussed it. He did not wear ihram as well. And there is a lesson that you can enter Mecca without ihram if you are not intending to do the Umrah. Do you have to do the Umrah every time you go to Mecca? No, you don't have to. The Prophet ﷺ did not do the Umrah. Why? There is a priority. There is a more important issue. Umrah is ibadah, but again, there is another thing which is more important. You want to free the land now. And you do the Umrah later. So all these are priorities. We need to think and to see how can we learn from the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ. The leaders who escaped, now when the Prophet ﷺ came to Mecca, there are people who knew that if the Prophet ﷺ got them, they may get killed. So they were scared and they left. One of them was Abdullah bin Sa'd bin Abi Sarh. Who brought him back? Exactly, Uthman radiallahu anhu. Abi Jahl, who went to Yemen. He went first to the sea. He wanted to brought him back. His wife. He came back. There are leaders who, regardless, to the Kaaba, but they were killed. Qiyas ibn Subaba, one of them. Ibn Khatal, another one. Why? Their hurt was very much. So we learn from this that sometimes even the Prophet ﷺ, the most merciful human being, he did not forgive those people. The transgression against Islam is not easy. And it is up to the ruler, to the leader, to forgive or to punish. Those people, the Prophet ﷺ said, if you saw them clinging inside the Kaaba, kill them. And that's what they were doing, but they were killed. It's not easy to attack Islam, to attack the Messenger ﷺ. Another thing also, once the Prophet ﷺ purified the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the idols were removed, he sent Khalid radiallahu anhu to destroy Al-Uzza, another big idol, was outside. And he sent Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu to destroy another idol also. And those idols were destroyed. Then the Prophet ﷺ sent Khalid ibn al-Walid radiallahu anhu again to another mission. This time to a place, to a tribe, Banu Judayma. Banu Judayma, they were offered Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ sent Khalid ibn al-Walid radiallahu anhu to them. Now you want to secure all the areas. He went there, and once Khalid came, they said Saba'na. Saba'na in the Arab language means we left the religion of our fathers. They did not know how to say Aslamna, we accepted Islam. So Khalid wanted to kill them. And he told every companion to kill his captive. Because if you don't kill them now and they come attack you, they will kill you. And Khalid killed many of them. The next morning he insisted on the companions, but they refused. They said, we won't kill them. They did nothing. We captured them, we don't kill them. He came to the Messenger ﷺ, and they came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they complained. And the Prophet ﷺ was very upset, because Khalid transgressed, and he killed people that they were innocent. So he prayed to Allah, "Oh Allah, I disown myself from what Khalid did. Allahumma inni abra'u ilayka mimma sana'a Khalid." Khalid ibn Walid was one of the companions, and he's a righteous companion, yet he made a mistake. And that's a lesson for all of us. No matter how great you are, how excellent leader you are, you may make a mistake. And it happened from Khalid radiallahu anhu. Another lesson. Did the Prophet ﷺ call the jihad off? That's it. We don't want any more casualties. No. There are mistakes. People make mistakes. We correct the mistake. We don't stop the ibadah. Jihad is ibadah. The Prophet ﷺ did not say the warfare is off, and even if we are attacked, we are killed. No, that's it, because we don't want to make any other mistake. No. There was a mistake. We corrected it. The Prophet ﷺ paid the blood money. He asked Allah for forgiveness, and that's it. What do you do more? This mistake was not intentional. So we need to learn from these lessons. These are incidents happened so we could learn from them. Now, Mecca is secured. It is under the rulership of the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims. In the south of Mecca, there is a Taif. A Taif is a big city, and the kuffar are there. And they are scared now. The Prophet ﷺ moved north to Khaybar. He stopped the evil. He came south to Mecca, and he stopped the evil. The west, there is no tribes. It's only mountains and then the sea. There is nothing. The west. The east, secured. Now there is the south. So it's a matter of time before he comes to us. And at Taif, remember what happened to the Messenger ﷺ in Taif. He was stoned there until his feet were bleeding. So they said, we will not wait for him until he comes to us, so we will prepare ourselves. So they prepared themselves. And they prepared large army, and they wanted to come to fight the Messenger ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ also sent the news to see what's going on, and he was told that they are preparing themselves. So the Prophet ﷺ also did not wait for them to come. He prepared the army and he went. The Prophet ﷺ, when he came to Mecca, he came with how many soldiers? 10,000. Now he left with how many soldiers to Hunayn? 12,000. So he has 2,000 more. But most of those 2,000 are new Muslims. New Muslims. Those 2,000 are new Muslims. And actually some of them were not Muslims. They were just coming with the Prophet ﷺ from Mecca to Taif to see what will happen. The kuffar prepared themselves very well under the leadership of Auf ibn Malik. Malik ibn Auf al-Nasri. Malik ibn Auf, he is their leader. There is the tribe of Thaqif, and there is the tribe of Hawazin. And there are other tribes. Sa'ad ibn Bakr, one of those tribes. Which tribe is Sa'ad ibn Bakr? Do you know? The Prophet ﷺ was nursed in that tribe. Yes, that's why she is called Halima al-Sa'diyah, in reference to Sa'ad, the tribe of Sa'ad, Sa'ad ibn Bakr, that's the tribe. Even the tribe where the Prophet ﷺ was nursed, it is with the kuffar against the Messenger ﷺ. Now, Malik ibn Auf, he realized that the Prophet ﷺ has a very powerful army. He won the Battle of Khaybar. He opened Mecca, the holy city in Arabia. He cannot beat him like that. So he brought with him all women and children, and all the goods and the money that people have. He asked every soldier to bring everything. Why? Because that will push them to fight until the last breath, to the last moment. Because if they will fight just like any other battle, they may lose easily. But now when you go and you know that if you lost, you will lose everything, what will happen to you? You will fight more. They brought with them one of the wisest people who are expert in the battles. His name is Durayd ibn Simma. Durayd ibn Simma, he was a very old man, and he was very well reputed in the warfare, but he was old, so he was unable to fight, but they brought him just to take his opinion. When he came, he heard the sounds of the sheep, the cattle, he heard crying of the children. He asked, what is this? They told him what Malik ibn Auf did. He brought everything. He called on him and he told him, by Allah, you are not a leader, you are a shepherd. You don't know what to do. did you lose your mind? He told him, you bring everything, why you do this? So Malik bin Auf said, because I want them to fight very well. He said, are you stupid? If they lost, nothing can return them. And if they won, that will not help them to win. If the loser escaped and ran away from the battlefield, nothing will return him back to the battlefield. He wants to save his life, that's all. So he said, let them return. Malik bin Auf said no. He refused. The people respect very well the opinion of Durayd ibn Simma. And Durayd ibn Simma was insisting. But Malik bin Auf told his people, whether you follow me or I will kill myself. He put the sword and he was leaning on the sword. And he said, what do you do? What do you want? If I left myself, I will be killed, and you follow him. You follow Durayd ibn Simma. So they followed him. They obeyed Malik bin Auf. And when the Prophet ﷺ heard that, he smiled. And he was happy, because these are the spoils of war that are brought easily to the Messenger ﷺ and to the Muslims. Instead of you go and you collect, it is collected already for you. And that's exactly what Malik bin Auf did. So now the kuffar are less than the Muslims. The Muslims are more. They are in the way to Hunayn. They saw a tree called Dat and Wat. What is that tree? This tree was honored by the people in Jahiliyyah. They used to hang their swords as a spell for them, charm. So some of the people told the Messenger ﷺ, designate for us, assign for us Dat and Wat, as the kuffar have Dat and Wat. So we can seek the blessings and we can pray in that place. So what did the Prophet ﷺ say? You have said just like the people of Musa told Musa, make a god for us just like they have gods. That's when this incident took place. And remember, as I told you, who said that? The new Muslims, those who were not established in the religion, who don't know the rulings yet. And then also in the way, some Muslims were very happy with their number. They are 12,000 and the kuffar are less. So they said, now we will win because we are more in number. And the Prophet ﷺ heard that and he did not like it, because this is arrogance. And the consequences came later, as expected. Always when you depend only on yourself, you don't rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you, you may lose. And that's what happened to the Muslims. But remember, why this happened? Why this chaos? When you don't have strong people in Iman, when you don't have people that know exactly what they are saying, what they are doing, this may happen. You have 2,000 of people, some of them are not Muslims. So you need to be sure who are the people that you are accompanying, that they are with you. They came, and Malik ibn Auf was very smart. In the way to At-Ta'if, there is a valley that they have to go through. That's the only way you could go to At-Ta'if. He brought the army, he chose archers, and he put on every side of the valley, on the top of the valley, on the mountain, archers, and he hid them. So what happened? The Muslims are going inside the valley. At the same time, all the archers throw their arrows against the Muslims. So there was chaos. Most Muslims retreated, withdrew, except for the Prophet ﷺ and very few people. Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Messenger ﷺ, Abu Sufyan ibn al-Harith, radiallahu anhu, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, the children of Al-Abbas, Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anhu, and very few companions. Why? It's not easy. Again, you are receiving from both ways the arrows. You continue, you will receive more. So you have to go back. And that's what the companions did, except for the Messenger ﷺ and very few of them. So the Prophet ﷺ called aloud, أنا النبي لا كذب أنا ابن عبد المطلب. I am the Prophet, no lie, I am the son of Abdul Muttalib. He asked Al-Abbas, because Al-Abbas radiallahu anh had a very strong voice. He told him to call on the people. Where are you, the people of the tree? Which tree? Anwat? That Anwat is a tree of Jahiliyyah. The tree that is mentioned in the Quran. Which tree? يا أصحاب الشجرة لقد رضي الله عن المؤمنين إذ يبايعونك تحت الشجرة. Allah is very well pleased with the believers when they give you pledge underneath the tree. That tree. He reminded them, "O you people who gave pledge underneath the tree." Once they heard it, everyone came back. They came back. They just needed one word, and that was the sign, and they came back. And then they fought, and they won the battle. The Prophet ﷺ threw in the faces of the kuffar, shahat al-wujuh, and by the leave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Muslims were victorious and the kuffar were defeated. And again, once the kuffar were defeated, there was disarray. They left, and they left behind them the spoils of war. They left behind them women, children, and their money as well. So it was all taken. But the Prophet ﷺ did not leave that. He told the companions to go and follow them. The kuffar were divided, 3 troops or 3 groups. Group of them went to At-Ta'if. At-Ta'if had very strong fortress, just like Khaybar. Some of them hid there. Another group went to Nakhla, another place. And there is a third group. So the Prophet ﷺ commanded Abu Amir al-Ash'ari, radiallahu anhu, the uncle of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. He sent him, dispatched him with a group of Muslims to fight the kuffar, and he was able to take that place. But he was killed. Abu Amir radiallahu anhu, the uncle of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, he was martyred. Then the Prophet ﷺ marched to At-Ta'if. And again, At-Ta'if was very well protected. In the way to At-Ta'if, the Prophet ﷺ passed by the citadel of Malik ibn Auf, and he commanded the companions to destroy it, and it was destroyed. Then they reached At-Ta'if, and there was a siege around At-Ta'if. But they were unable to open At-Ta'if because it was very strong. The moment the Muslims come, some of them are killed. So the Prophet ﷺ waited. He tried to use different strategies, like destroying the properties of the kuffar. He cut some of their trees. Is this permissible in the time of war? Yes. Because you want something better. There is a reason for that. You are not just destroying for nothing. This is a property. But now, if you don't destroy it, the kuffar will use it against you. So what do? The same thing when the Prophet ﷺ destroyed the citadel of Malik ibn Auf. Then the kuffar asked the Prophet ﷺ to leave it. Is that what you do to your relatives? Because they are still his relatives. So the Prophet ﷺ left it. Though the Muslims were killed, but he left that once they begged him. And look at the mercy of the Prophet ﷺ, even in the time of war, even with the enemy. That's what the Prophet ﷺ did. Then the Prophet ﷺ used another strategy. He said, whoever came from the kuffar accepting Islam, he is free, even if he was a slave. And because of that, Al-Mughira radiallahu anh came and he accepted Islam. Al-Mughira bin Shu'bah radiallahu anh was a slave in Thaqif, from Thaqif in At-Ta'if. He came and he accepted Islam. That's another strategy when you try to destroy the infrastructure of the enemy. The kuffar tried to do this many times with Muslims. They are doing this nowadays with Muslims. Divide them and you will win. But again, regardless, the Prophet ﷺ was unable to open At-Ta'if. So he returned. He returned with what? With the spoils of war. Lots of money, lots of women, lots of children, and all now belong to Muslims. Now, it is time to distribute the spoils of war. The Prophet ﷺ took the 1/5 that belongs to him, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he distributed it. He gave as the most generous person on earth. He gave everyone. He gave people like Al-Aqra bin Habis, Uyayna bin Hisn, Abbas bin Mirdas. Those leaders, they used to fight the Messenger ﷺ. They just recently accepted Islam. He gave each one of them 100 sheep. 100 sheep. Even nowadays, how much is the sheep? $100. That's how much? 10,000 in one day. He gave Abu Sufyan approximately 1,600 sheep. Why? Abu Sufyan was a new Muslim. Just a few months back, he accepted Islam. He gave lots of people. And he gave non-Muslims. He gave Safwan ibn Umayyah. Why? Again, because it is permissible, and that's a lesson that we learn. It is permissible in the time of war, or in general, to win the hearts of people by money. One of the recipients of the zakah, al-mu'allafa qulubuhum, the people who recently accepted Islam, or they did not accept Islam yet, but you expect from them to accept it. While the Prophet ﷺ was dividing the shares of war, the spoils of war, a man came, and his name was Dhul Khuwaysira at-Tamimi, from Tamim. Dhul Khuwaysira, that's his name. He said, O Messenger of Allah, fear Allah and be just. He's accusing the Prophet ﷺ of being unjust. So the Prophet ﷺ told him, Waylak, woe to you. Who will be just if the Messenger of Allah was not just? The companion said, O Messenger of Allah, should we not kill him? He said, no, leave him. For from his offspring will come people that will penetrate through the religion. And he gave the long hadith about the people of Al-Khawarij. He gave their description. And they all came from that man. And that was a miracle from the Prophet ﷺ. Then, of course, Al-Ansar were not given anything. Because the Prophet ﷺ divided the money for the immigrants, the new ones that accepted Islam recently, for the non-Muslims, and nothing left for Al-Ansar. So they thought that now the Prophet ﷺ came back to his city, saw his people, he forgot about us. Though we were the ones who supported him, who protected him, who gave him shelter. So the Prophet ﷺ heard that, and he asked for all of them to be gathered, only the Ansar. And he said, what did you say? And they said what they said. So he asked Sa'd, what do you say, O Sa'd? Sa'd was one of their leaders. He said, O Messenger of Allah, I am one of my people. So the Prophet ﷺ reminded them, weren't you divided and you were united by the grace of Allah because of me? Weren't you misguided and you became guided when I came to you? Weren't you this, weren't you they say that? And they say yes, yes. After that, the Prophet ﷺ said, you were able to say, you were chased by the kuffar and we gave you shelter. You were alone and we strengthened you, we helped you, we so and so. And that's true. Wasn't it too much? He was reminding them, wasn't it too much that I am giving people money, worldly thing, and I'm leaving you for your iman? Aren't you pleased that the people are leaving with money and you are leaving with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Until they all cried and they accepted and they were pleased with this. The Prophet ﷺ said, لولا الهجرة, had it not been for the hijrah, I would have been a man from the Ansar. And he said, people are the outside garment and you are the inside, the inward. Al-Ansaru dithar wa nasu shi'ar, means they are closer to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that was a great virtue for the Ansar. Even though at the beginning they thought that they deserved something, but they were happy and they were pleased. And this is one of the places where the Prophet ﷺ also was wise with them. Then after the spoils of war are distributed, the people from At-Ta'if came, accepting Islam. They accepted Islam and they told the Prophet ﷺ, we want our money back. We want our children, we want our wives. So he said, I have waited for you several days, because the Prophet ﷺ waited. He wished that they will come as Muslims. He said, I will give you the choice. You can take your money, or you can take your children and wives. Whichever you want. I cannot give you both. Anything that I took for me, or the people of Abdul Muttalib, it is for you. I don't want anything. And look at the mercy of the Messenger ﷺ. Look at the reason why he fought. He never fought for money, for worldly gain. But whatever the people had, I cannot force them. So he gave them, of course they chose their families. They can make the money. And he gave them his money. Then, when the people saw that, many of them also gave back their money. Look at the wisdom of the Messenger ﷺ. And with this, we fold very important page in the history or the seerah of the Messenger ﷺ. After that, of course, now most of Arabia accepting Islam. Of them, Banu Tamim entered Islam. The tribe of Tai, one of the tribes that became famous because of their leader, Hatim al-Ta'i. Hatim al-Ta'i, if you ask any Arab, you ask him who's the most generous man, he would tell you Hatim al-Ta'i. Why? Because Hatim al-Ta'i was very famous in Jahiliyyah, that he is the most generous man. But even his generosity is not even close to the generosity of the Messenger ﷺ. When he came, when of course he was dead, the Muslims invaded their tribe and they brought everyone. Of them was Safana. Safana was the daughter of Hatim al-Ta'i. So the Prophet ﷺ released her because she was the daughter of Hatim al-Ta'i. Again, he appreciated the noble things that were done by her father. Her brother, Adi ibn Hatim, he is the son of their leader, of Hatim. He was the leader. He fled. So Safana took the protection from the Messenger ﷺ, and he came. Hatim was Christian. He became Christian before. So the Prophet ﷺ asked him, and he told him, why don't you accept Islam? At that time, Hatim says, at the beginning I thought he was a king. But he gave me his pillow that he sits on, and I sat on it. And I did not see any generous act like that from a man, so I knew he is a prophet. Then money came to him from the spoils, and he distributed it right away. He did not take anything. And he told me, you know, O Adi, you think that you don't want to accept Islam because we are poor, we are weak. Allah will open for us the lands until you will see the treasures of Kisra and Caesar. So Adi looked at him and he said, Kisra, the real Kisra, or another one? He told him Kisra ibn Hormuz, and the Caesar, the real Caesar. And Adi said, by Allah, I lived until I saw that reality. And Adi accepted Islam and he became Muslim. And of course we have many narrations from Adi ibn Hatim radiallahu anhu. He accepted Islam because he saw the noble character of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are few incidents, and then we'll continue inshallah after the Prophet ﷺ finished from At-Ta'if and Mecca. He returned to Medina, and that's where we will continue inshallah in next session. Is there any questions?
What did the Prophet do with his 1/5 share?
Like I said, the 1/5 share that was given to the Messenger ﷺ, he gave it back to the people. He returned it to the people. He did not take anything.
Did Safana become Muslim too?
Safana, most likely yes. She accepted Islam. Any other questions? Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.